The book is called The Fly Who Flew to Space by Lauren Sanchez, and it's about a fly who flies into space, and there's a lot of really wonderful things about from like a STEM perspective and science, but the idea is this fly is struggling in school and really is having a hard time and almost failing, right? The word failing we don't like to essentially use. So but the concept for me was like, this is really true. This is a feeling of I'm not good enough, right? And then realizing that maybe in the classroom is not always the best place to learn, and just he becomes an explorer, goes up into space, and there you go. And it's like, and brings back the journey and really is able to contribute to the classroom.
I'm Joe Beal, the founder and CEO of Microcosm Publishing. I'm also the author of A People's Guide to Publishing, which distills what I've learned from selling millions of books over the past 28 years.
I'm Ellie Blue, the Vice President of Microcosm. We started this podcast to share what we've learned with newer publishers, so you can learn from our mistakes. Or maybe you just want to learn about the publishing industry.
This week, we bring special guest to the pod, Angela Engel, recently proud parent to a New York Times bestselling book.
No, I should have had it with me on this podcast, but this is total impromptu, so.
Right, we didn't even know. I mean, I was surprised when it happened. You were probably surprised when it happened. Ellie was definitely surprised when it happened. I mean, it was. So, tell us the story.
I'm Angela Engel. I'm the publisher and founder of the Collective Book Studio. We are out of Oakland, California, and obviously we do children's book publishing as well as we have an adult side of nonfiction and gift, lifestyle, food.
So, did you hire a publicist? How did this happen?
Yes. We got very lucky. My company is able to do very, very special effects when it comes to print production. So this book has a pull-out poster as the jacket that glows in the dark. This has glow-in-the-dark ink throughout. If anyone's ever been, which I have you been ever on Space Mountain?
It's been a while, but yes.
Okay, so if you've ever been on Space Mountain, there's a spread in the book, and take it into the closet, and you can totally geek out and be like, oh my God, it's like I'm on Space Mountain in Disneyland. And so we were able to do that. And so this book is by Lauren Sanchez, who's a philanthropist and a journalist, was an anchor on one of the very first Latino women an anchor in Los Angeles, is a news anchor and a pilot. So she came with a team of publicists, not just one. So when you publish somebody who's famous, you live and learn that, wow, there are a lot of publicists who manage her. But what's so incredible working with Lauren, she herself has dyslexia, which she's really open with, and actually comes from New Mexico and went to community college, and it was a community college teacher that changed her life in Los Angeles because she always wanted to be a journalist. So the book and The Fly have definitely a connection with her own story. So why I'm saying all of this is she had a big publicist team. She was able to get out there, tell her story, and so then it really rippled effect, and organically the public fell in love with her story because it is, we all know somebody in our life, right, who has struggled with something in school, especially whether it's ADHD or it's dyslexia or other neurodivergent aspects of when they're young and not really understanding, hey, why am I not fitting in this box in school? So I think that's what really happened, is that her personal story triggered a real organic, it was kind of almost incredible. We completely ran out of stock on Amazon. It was like, they didn't have enough inventory, and so then people had to go buy in other places like bookshop.org. No, I'm dead serious. And like Romans and Bookends and books and books in Miami. Like, it was Barnes & Noble. Like, it was wild that week. It was so wild. I spent like 2 hours one day just like dealing with stock issues, and I was like, nothing we can do. Amazon doesn't have it, so let's go buy it everywhere else. And it was really awesome, and we made the list.
Congratulations.
Yeah.
And that, I mean, and it's cool to see that from an independent publisher, and it's cool to see that that's still possible.
It's still possible. It was crazy. It was crazy.
And then, so how, like, what was the publicity spots that you got that propelled all of that?
I can tell you, if you can get on The View.
I cannot.
The View, anybody who's watching this podcast.
I keep calling them.
In one day, the amount of spike that we got from her being, so her update was Tuesday. She was on Good Morning America that day. I think she went on Nightline or ABC. But then Friday, and you know how the New York Times works, it's like you have that full week. And we also lined it up. She had with some really strong indie big events. So she was on The View on Friday, and we then just saw like a crazy spike. And then she also did some local TV around her event. So she had an event at Bookends, and we did Good Day New York, and then she was in Los Angeles at Froman's, and we did Good Day LA. So it was just like, it was really all of it, and we got really lucky in some way. I can tell everyone we made 1 week, and I'm so proud of 1 week, but like to sustain that you need a lot of inventory, and we ran out of inventory. So you can't stay on the list if you don't have the inventory, but more is coming, so everyone, more is coming, and there might still be some on bookshop.org, so I can say that. I was like, push people there, we've got stock in Ingram. It worked.
Right. And that, I mean, and this is the problem for smaller publishers is like,
yes.
If you planned this for every book, you would go out of business.
100%. I mean, I'm going to be a realist. I mean, it was so amazing, and everyone's like, oh my God, you've made it. But I can't sustain it. Like, really, I mean, everyone's like, oh, you're not on the list. I'm like, well, we don't have enough inventory for the market, right? And especially in children's books, you're looking at, I love this book. Not to say I don't love it, but it's Dragons and Tacos. Have you ever seen that book?
Yeah.
Okay, everyone loves, like, Ellie's giving us like the thumbs up. Okay, Dragons and Tacos, I think, has been on the list for 480 plus weeks. Meaning, can we do the math? There's 52 weeks in a year. I mean,
yeah, right.
so, okay.
Millions.
A million. So we have that on the list. We did beat out Creepy Underwear.
Ooh,
that was really exciting because that's a good book. But you know, you have like Eric Carle. I mean, you just have such good night. You have such big backlist books that they're probably, I don't even know what those print runs are. And they're also being sold in mass market locations. So the book isn't also in mass market. And like if you're not in a mass market, it's going to be hard to sustain it because those places report to the Times. Mm-hmm. But we made it.
Right, yeah.
My one, I mean, I know I was like, wait, I need to like print out a screenshot and like put it on my wall.
Right, yeah. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And I mean, and it's like, this is marketing that will follow you. It's not just
That's totally true.
About 1 week.
It was really exciting to see the organic swell of human interest, and what it makes you realize is that if you do a really, really, really good book, and people were like, it was going also really viral, so people were like taking pictures of like the jacket and the glow in the dark and writing out. So it's really a testament to like if you create and you make beautiful things, people want to buy a beautiful thing. You know?
Yeah. And this has been our problem too. Whenever we've had a book that was a bestseller, immediately you run out because we're a small publisher.
Yeah.
You know, we had a book on Weekend Edition on NPR.
Oh yeah.
I think we printed 4,000 or something. They sold out immediately. It was unavailable. It didn't make the Times list because you didn't
even have enough. So I was really lucky. I printed 20, so it could actually like. You have to understand, like that week there was like trucks coming into the Simon & Schuster warehouse. Oh shoot! We like all of a sudden we were getting pinged by people. Wait, we're totally out of stock. Like it's showing like Amazon was showing like won't have availability until like midnight on Christmas, or because they don't want to be reliable, and it's not really actually true. But it's like it was so interesting to me that even with 20,000 now they're in the microplace. You would probably have had to start with 120,000.
Yeah.
And there was no way I was going to afford 120,000 copies of a book. But that's really the reality. If you don't have over 100,000 copy print run, you might make the list, which we did, but how to sustain it. We are printing more and stuff, but then those are for like Christmas.
Yeah, right. It's going to be a bit.
They'll be ready for Christmas.
So what advice would you have for other publishers, even if it's maybe go about it differently?
I actually got asked this. So this last week I was on a panel for children's book creators at Chronicle Books, and somebody in the audience wanted to know what is, when you're a children's book publisher, what is it that you want to continually keep doing or being reminded of? And I said this is such an interesting week. A New York Times best-selling publisher. I've been in the business for 25 years. I've had my company now for 6. This is the first time that I'm a New York Times bestseller, but that is not what is actually the most important to focus on. The most important to focus on is to continually think about how you're going to get this book in the hands of children that need it most. And so that was my reminder, is that the New York Times, all the accolades, all the awards you can win, all the reviews Ellie has said is our reviews, those are not as important as how are we making children's books accessible? How are we finding grants, right? How am I finding grants? Because this particular author, Lauren, is able to give her royalties to a foundation with dyslexia. That was her choice, which is amazing. So how can I then find grants to get this book in for both the foundation as well as to the kids? So I think that is my biggest reminders. I had to sit back because I was a little disappointed. I couldn't make the list sustainable dragons and tacos. But in the end, when I thought about it, it's actually more important that I continually print more of these books and then I get them in the hands of teachers and kids.
The most important thing is the organic buzz. You want people to actually like the damn book. That's what matters. And if it's a children's book, you don't say damned book, you just say book. But at the end of the day, that's what the biggest publishers don't know how to do, is to create organic buzz.
Discoverability, how do we reach our readers, what is things about, and I think that is the most important thing and my biggest advice to any publishing house, especially in children's. For a children's book, you have to understand that it's a real art, to match the illustrations with the words and also make a product that's really beautiful. And I think that we hit all of those things there. And so it was not just there's this cool author who has a children's book out there. It really was oh my God, I just got a hand of this book and I'm buying it, and look at here I'm pulling out the poster. I mean, it just was so viral and so cool to watch. The amount of people that were really posting and falling in love and watching their kids read the book. I mean, it was really great. And I know, Lauren herself is a pilot, and she is planning a space exploration. So I'm why I'm printing a lot more books, everyone, is supposedly she's going to go into space with an all-women crew. In December or January. Space is fickle. And so the rumor has it she plans on bringing a copy of the book with her on the spaceship.
Into space.
So even if we don't hit the New York Times list, I know that readers are going to want that book of that woman who brings the book into space.
Galactic bestseller.
Yes.
So what about my book idea, which is about mooning people on the moon? Do you think there's potential there? Is that a yes?
For a child or an adult? Can we please?
I don't know. That's a difficult one. Is it a parody children's book or is it an actual children's book? That's different. I feel like it would appeal more to children.
Yeah, we could write a book about butts.
See, yeah.
Moon. Wait, what's it called? The title?
Mooning people on the moon.
This. We can't do that. You can't. Mooning people on the moon. I may have to get. Can you send me your manuscript? Mm-hmm. That might be good. Should we use some glow in the dark ink? We could do that outlines with butts.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This is getting.
There's a lot you can do with that. With it, you can do more with children's than you can with adult, really.
Well, we have creepy underwear and see that. So that book is that neon green, but we went a step farther and used ink that glowed in the dark. We're going on a total tangent, but I'm envisioning glow-in-the-dark butts. Mm-hmm. Outlines, at least.
That makes perfect sense. Because it'd be the moon, nobody... Well, I haven't been there. Maybe you haven't been there. We don't know. Maybe the butts glow in the dark there.
Thanks for joining us once again.
Please send your questions to podcast@microcosmpublishing.com so we can answer them on future episodes.
And please give us 5 stars on iTunes and everywhere else that podcasts are reviewed.
You can find us on the internet at microcosm.pub,
On Twitter at microcosm,
on Facebook at Microcosm Publishing,
on Instagram at microcosm_pub.
and here in Portland, Oregon on North Williams Avenue.
Thank you so much.
Have a wonderful week.